Salutare băieți și fete, numele meu este Marius și sunt aici alături de tovarășul meu Dani, fraților, și astăzi reacționăm la His Story. Nu știu dacă știți, fraților, însă în ultimul timp, Dani, nu știu dacă ai auzit, dar canalul ăsta de YouTube este foarte, foarte popular. E vorba de băiatul ăsta care trăiește tot felul de experiențe și face aceste animații în care își arată experiențele, His Story, adică povestea lui pe traducere în română.
Ok, deci practic este un fel de La Povești cu Jimmy, cum ar veni, nu?
Exact, este un La Povești cu Jimmy, însă mult mai evoluat. Și acum vom reacționa la o poveste horror. Este vorba de o poveste în care ăsta lucrează la benzinărie, e, cum îi spune, e o furtună și este unul dintre puținele episoade horror. Adică aș zice că, dacă stau să mă gândesc, cred că ăsta are vreo 50 de povești, din care 4-5 sunt horror.
Oh my god!
E ceva destul de special.
E ceva destul
de special la episodul ăsta și hai să vedem, bro, despre ce este vorba.
Hai să vedem, băi și fete, nu uitați să apăsați click pe butonul de like și de subscribe la acest canal, frate, dacă vă place și mai vreți episoade din acest duo, frate. Let's go!
Thunder shook the gas station windows and the lights flickered and I grabbed the counter. The fluorescence steadied and I exhaled. I was 16 and pulling a solo shift.
16 ani.
La 16 ani, ok.
Mamă, la 16 ani se întâmplă de asta.
Opa, și ai auzit? Deci avea 16 ani și nici nu trebuia să fie acolo. Ia locul lui colegul lui care a sunat și a zis că e bolnav.
Bolnav, ok.
Nici nu trebuia să fie acolo, ok.
Mamă, pe furtună, așa, vai de viața mea. Mamă, bro. Oh my god.
On the wall for the 10th time. A box of zip ties sat on the shelf under the counter next to the scissors. I counted the register twice to keep busy and slid the drawer shut.
Cred că acele coliere o să fie motivul pentru care el o să fie jefuit sau ceva de genul.
And the cooler stopped and I grabbed the counter because the dark was instant and total. I yanked out my phone and the screen said citywide power outage. My boss.
Oh my god, i-a dat o alert, bro, i-a dat o alert. Opa, și vorbea cu bossul care îi zice: "Hi, there is a city-wide power outage right now. Please lock the door of the store and stay out. Don't open the door for anyone. I will keep you updated."
Ok, deci i-a zis să închidă magazinul, practic.
Bă, da, asta e destul de ciudat, bro, adică de zice că din cauza furtunii e o mare
pană de curent.
A curentul tot cu orașul și gen șeful îi zice să închidă magazinul, bro, de ce?
Pentru
adică
că
ar fi trebuit să lase oamenii înăuntru să nu moară de frig sau de...
Bă, asta da, gen doar să-i lase înăuntru, știi, și să nu facă nimic, practic, dar...
Da, dar zice să nu lași pe nimeni, ok, ceva destul de ciudat cu șeful ăsta.
Da, chiar e.
Lock the doors. I locked the front door and paced behind the counter, and the security camera above the register blinked once and went dark with everything else.
Ok. Chiar mă gândeam cum mai merge asta de...
My friend Nate, because he always answered no matter what time it was. Bro, the whole city just went dark. You seeing this? No response. Nate was the kind of kid who texted back before you put your phone down. We shared a desk in shop class, and he chewed the inside of his cheek when he was thinking. Rain hammered the roof, and nothing else made a sound. Something banged against the side of the building, and I dove behind the counter with my heart hammering. Wind was rattling the propane cage outside. I shoved the display back up, shaking hands, and laughed a knock on the glass. I spun and a woman was standing in the rain holding a sleeping toddler against her chest.
Oh my god.
She knocked again and her face was
lasă înăuntru, bro,
pulled the door open. Can I just get gas? My daughter's asleep and I'm almost on empty. The toddler's head was on her shoulder and one tiny fist was clutching a stuffed elephant and she was drooling onto her mom's shirt. Of course, pumps are down, but I can flip the manual override in the back. Thank you so much. We've been driving for 40 minutes trying to find somewhere open. My husband's deployed and it's just me and her, and I've been going in circles in the dark. I handed her a paper towel, and she wiped the rain off the toddler's face, and the little girl scrunched her nose and squeezed the elephant tighter without waking up. She could sleep through a hurricane. She basically is. The woman laughed, and the relief of having another person...
Bro, Dani, ia oprește-vă, fii atent.
Ia.
Pentru că eu, Marius sunt un geniu în ceea ce privește chestiile astea.
Ok.
Asta e o schemă. Aia minte, măsa.
Zici?
Da, și eu cred că nici măcar nu e un bebeluș, cred că e un bebeluș de pluș, pentru că, bro, ce bebeluș nu e terorizat când afară e apocalipsa?
Pe bune, frate, a zis
afară, tună, pulgere și bebeluș și darme, mă cheamă lui.
Bă, ai dreptate,
eu am văzut multe chestii de astea, fii atent, e o schemă la mijloc. Cred că, ce mai probabil, ai văzut că la început zicea de colierele alea, cred că asta e o momeală și e cu un băiat, cu bărbasul, probabil.
Da, cel mai probabil e o distragere cum ar veni. Da, cel mai probabil e o distragere.
100%, bro, 100% că știi despre ce.
Că nu merg nici camerele, bro, da, ai dreptate, bro, Marius, cred că ai dreptate.
Ia să vedem, da.
Yeah.
Caleb, Michelle, and this is Lily. I noticed a name tag safety pinned to the elephant's ear, Ellie, in wobbly marker. Michelle caught me squinting at it. She named it herself. Can't spell yet, but she got close. She bounced Lily and hummed something, and Lily's fist tightened on Ellie's trunk in her sleep, and Michelle kissed the top of her head. We'll be home soon, baby. The gas station felt warmer and smaller with a minute, and the blackout didn't matter. I went to the back room to flip the manual pump switch. I could hear Michelle laughing at something Lily did in her sleep. The front door chimed behind me. I came back out and my stomach dropped through the floor. 3 men in ski masks and gloves inside the gas.
Bro, mă duce capul, bro, mă duce capul.
Oh my god, bro.
A fost un jav, bro. Era evident
bune,
un
frate.
Lil, bro, trebuia să te ducă capul să-ți dai seama că n-are cum un... Ăla era nici măcar un bebeluș, ăla e un bebeluș de...
Vai de viața mea, bro.
The biggest one already behind the counter, the second flipping the lock, the third 2 feet from Michelle. She yanked Lily against her chest, and the girl woke up whimpering, and Michelle's face went white, and everything warm about the last 10 minutes died. Nobody moves. He grabbed my collar, and I swung at him, and he caught my wrist and slammed it down, and had a zip tie.
Okay, lasă să fure, ce doamne.
Swing the other. I
kicked,
and he pinned my legs.
Ce faci, bro, ce faci?
Doamne, deci se bate cu 3 oameni.
Lasă-l, bro, să fure colierele, că nu fură de la tine.
Exact. Ai 16 ani, băi, băiatule.
He crouched and ripped my name tag off. Caleb, I know your name. When this is over, you forget everything. He pointed at Michelle. That baby stops crying or we have a problem. Lily was wailing. Michelle pressed the girl's face against her shoulder and rocked, and the terror on her face gutted me so completely. I pulled at the zip tie until my skin tore.
Bă, ce face ăsta, băi, frate?
Bă, de ce?
Bă, se vede că e un personaj din filme horror, bă, ca de obicei.
Bă, bune, frate, vrea să facă el pe interesantul.
Se facă ăștia pe interesanți, bro, dar ești așa tine, bro, tu ar fi trebuit să fii acolo. Că și tu întotdeauna, bro, trebuie să faci pe interesant întotdeauna.
Bro, dacă mă jefuia cineva pe mine, eu cred că lăsam... Aia e, bro, ce să fac?
Fraților, și faci, te bați, zici că e
bezderia
ta. Lasă, bă, să fure,
asta zic, asta zic.
Nu-i fi primul om jefuit, nici ultimul.
Asta zic.
Incredibil.
She mouthed, stop, but I shook my head and kept pulling. The big one ripped the cash drawer out and bills scattered. 300? Wow. That's it? He swept the drawer off the counter and it crashed into the chip. We hit the houses. No alarms. No cameras. This is home base. He pulled a list of addresses from his pocket. The small one crouched in front of Lily, his head tilted, almost gentle. How old? Michelle's voice shook. 18 months. The gentleness vanished when he straightened up. Keep her quiet. 2 of them went out into the dark. The small one stayed, jittery, pacing. His mask was crooked, and I could see his jaw, and something about it tugged at the back of my brain. The way he chewed the inside of his cheek. I'd seen someone do that every day.
Oh my god, e Nate. E Nate.
Nu pot să cred. E colegul lui.
Tovarășul lui, fraților, de i-a dat mesaj și nu i-a răspuns.
Vai de viața mea.
I braced my feet and pulled, and my cracked ribs screamed, and I bit down until I tasted blood and the screws ripped free. I flattened behind the counter. The security camera had a tiny green light. Battery backup. Still recording. I grabbed the scissors and sawed through the zip tie, and it snapped, and blood was running down both wrists, and relief surged so hard through me, my head spun. The fire extinguisher, red metal, 10 feet. He turned from the window and walked toward Michelle. Your car still running? She nodded. Keys. She pulled back. Please. Her car seat's in there. He grabbed for the keys and she twisted and Lily screamed and the fury was so instant and blinding my body moved before my brain caught up. I ripped the extinguisher off the wall and swung at the back of his legs and he went down hard. He rolled and kicked me in the stomach and I doubled over but held on. I swung again and his shoulder crunched and he crashed into the chip display and the whole unit toppled and cans and glass exploded everywhere. He grabbed a bottle and hurled it at my head and I ducked and it shattered against the wall. I charged and swung low and caught his knee and he buckled. Ellie was on the floor between us, staring up with button eyes. I slammed the extinguisher into his chest and he let go. Michelle, run! Your car! She sprinted for the door with Lily screaming. I shoved through the back room door and slammed it and threw my weight against it and he hit it from the other side so hard my feet slid. I jammed the mop handle through the door handle and burst out the back exit. Michelle Michelle's van was at the pump. She was turning the key and the engine clicked dead. She'd been
Normal
running
că nu
for
merge,
40
bro.
minutes. Dead battery. The panic was choking
Oh my
me. I
God.
sprinted to the hood and slammed my palms on it. Pop it! She was shaking so hard she couldn't find the latch. Lily was screaming in the back. Michelle, the hood! She found it, and I ripped the cables and dried the terminals with my shirt. And inside the store, the mop handle cracked. He was almost through. Try now. Click. Nothing. I slammed the battery housing and corrosion crumbled off the terminal. Again! Click. The engine coughed and died. The back
N-ai,
door
mă,
was
ce să-i faci?
splintering. I grabbed both terminals and squeezed them against the posts with my bare hands.
Uite-l ce știe ăsta mecanică.
And roared, and I yanked my hands
Asta face
free
pe
and
interesant,
slammed
bro,
them.
dar ți-am zis că
bro,
mă cu tine, bă.
ai zis că face asta pe interesantul,
Seamănă
bro.
cu tine.
A încercat toate astea să reînvie bateria. Bateria e boartă, nu mai reînvie.
Drive, don't stop. What about drive? She tore out, and the taillights vanished. I sprinted to the front and hauled the door shut with my bloody hands slipping and grabbed the padlock from the propane cage, and it took 3 tries to snap it through. He was locked inside, pounding on the glass. The back door splintered open behind me. He was getting out, headlights coming fast. The other 2. The van pulled in, and the big one jumped
Bravo,
out.
boy.
What happened? He got out. Woman's gone. The big one scanned the dark. I was behind the air pump 15 feet away. Find him, I ran. Vaulted the fence and my ribs screamed and I stumbled through a backyard. Fence rattling behind me, boots on grass. I cut through a yard and a motion light clicked on and I was lit up and I dove over the next fence and landed in a garden and kept running. I shoved through a hedge and thorns ripped my arms and came out on a pitch black street and sprinted 3 blocks and ducked into an alley behind a dumpster.
Puteai să stai acolo, bă, să
Flashlight
vezi de
beams at the end
treaba
of the
ta.
alley. Check over here.
Bă,
I
bune.
pressed my face into my knees and
Incredibil
pulled my
așa.
feet in and the beam swept past the dumpster 6 inches from my shoes. He's gone. Come on. We're losing time on the houses. Boots fading. They went back to robbing
my
the
God, au
neighborhood.
plecat.
I stayed behind the dumpster shaking and crying from exhaustion. Then I heard screaming. Not from the gas station. From a house 2
Poezia
streets
iară
over.
face pe
A woman
interesantul.
screaming, get
Bă,
out of my
bune.
house, and glass breaking and I could hear
Oh
it
my
cutting through the
God,
rain.
bro,
And I
dar
knew
ăsta-
exactly
Bro, nu
what
mai
was
fă, bro,
happening.
pe
They were inside
interesantul.
someone's home. I should have
Doamne.
stayed behind the
Vezi,
dumpster.
bă, de
I should have
treaba
waited
ta.
for the sirens. But Michelle's face flashed through my head and the sound of Lily crying and I was terrified. But I shoved myself up
Yeah.
and ran toward the screaming. A little yellow house with the front door kicked open.
Asta se
I
bate, mă,
crouched
se
behind
bate
the porch
cu-
railing and dialed 911 with shaking bloody fingers. 3 men robbing
La
a
timp,
house
bro.
on Miller Street. Yellow
La timp,
house,
bravo.
broken front door. There's a woman inside screaming. I
Yeah.
hung up. Inside I could hear them tearing through cabinets and the woman
Oh
was
my God.
sobbing. I grabbed a garden gnome off the porch next door and hurled it through the side window of the robber's van and the alarm erupted. The big one came crashing through the front door and I was already running. He saw me in the streetlight for half a
Îl prinde.
second. It's the kid from the
Da,
station.
ba nu.
Both of them came
Ah, ba
after
da.
me. I sprinted down the alley
Bă,
and the
bă, ăsta
Îl
n-are
prinde,
ce
mă, îl
face,
prinde,
mă.
n-are ce... Bă, da.
Hear his
Bă,
breathing.
bune
Dar
că
bine
n-are...
că, bine că a sunat la poliție.
Da.
N-a durat mult deloc.
Bottles exploded across the pavement and he tripped and went down hard and cursed. I vaulted a
Bă,
chain
cine
link
să
fence and
împiedică de
dropped
niște-
into a yard and there was nowhere left to run. So I crawled under a deck and pressed myself flat against the dirt and cobwebs
God.
stuck to my face and something skittered across my hand and I clamped my
omul
jaw
păianjen.
shut to keep from screaming. Boots on the pavement above me, flashlight beams sweeping through the fence slats.
Omul
The light
păianjen, bro.
crept along the edge of the deck 6 inches from my face. Check under there. We don't have time. That alarm's gonna bring every neighbor on the block. We go now. The van peeled out. I crawled out
și-a
from under
scăpat,
the deck
bro.
and spit dirt out of my mouth and stumbled back to
Incredibil,
the
bă,
yellow
vezi,
house.
bă, de
The old
treaba
woman
ta,
was
mă,
standing in
ăsta.
her doorway in a bathrobe, clutching a phone and shaking. Are you
Grijoasă de
okay?
asta,
They
cred.
took my mother's jewelry box. It was the only thing I had left of her. Her voice broke and I grabbed the porch
Ia,
railing
păzea că se
because
duce
my
ăsta,
legs were
păzea.
about to give out.
Păzea că
The
se duce
police
să
are on their
Nu pot
way.
să
I
cred că
called
mai
them.
face
She
asta.
looked at my wrist.
Interesant.
The gauze from the zip ties had soaked through and blood was dripping off my fingers onto her welcome mat. Oh honey, you're bleeding everywhere. I'm okay. You are not okay. You're a child. She went inside and came back with a dish towel and wrapped it around my worst wrist and tied it tight and her
Okay.
hands were gentle and steady even though she'd just been robbed. What's your name?
Hai să-l vedem
Caleb.
pe
Caleb,
juniorul
why on
ăsta.
earth did you run toward this house? Because I
Corect.
could hear you screaming. She pressed her
Da,
hand
el
against
face
my
pe
cheek
interesant.
and her
Nu o
eyes
să fie
filled.
rău,
I
nu o
heard
să primești
sirens
cheia
getting
orașului,
closer,
el,
and I
bro.
turned and ran back toward
Nu
the
ești
gas
acel
station
băiat.
because the night wasn't over. The parking lot was dark and empty. The padlock
Oh my
was on
God.
the front door, but the back door was hanging off its hinges. I stepped through and glass crunched under my shoes. The store was trashed, chips and soda and broken glass and the cash drawer on the floor. I grabbed the fire extinguisher from where I dropped it. Then I heard breathing behind the ice freezer. I raised the extinguisher extinguisher and crept toward the sound. The green glow of the security camera lit up a face and I stumbled backward. Nate Mitchell. I'd known that jaw. I'd been staring at it all night through the crooked mask and my brain had been screaming at me to recognize it and I wouldn't let myself. 4th grade. He came to my birthday party and we ate so much cake we both threw up. Shared headphones in study hall every single day.
He was holding ceva ce ai face tu cu mine, bro.
What? Adică?
M-ai jefuit, bro, că ești un șarpe.
Bro, nu te-aș jefui, bro. Dacă aș veni la tine acasă, nu te-aș jefui, bro. Dacă asta crezi tu despre mine, bro, Marius, lasă așa, bro.
A woman and a baby were in this store. A little girl with a stuffed elephant was screaming on the floor while you stood over her. He flinched at every word. I told them the station was closed. I told my brother, your brother kicked my ribs in. He's my brother. I couldn't say no. You could have said no. You have my number. You sat next to me in study hall yesterday. I know. He pressed his face into his hands. He said nobody gets hurt. Quick money. My brother got out of town 6 months ago.
Bro, Marius, n-am vrut să fac asta. N-am vrut să te jefuiesc, bro. Eu sunt prietenul tău.
Chill, buddy, nu fac eu așa ceva, da? Hai să fim serioși, bro.
Up at my house and said he had a plan and I was going to help. You could have said no. You've met my brother. He was right. I had just met his brother, the man who cracked my rib and ripped a cash register apart with his bare hands. He moved into my room, took my bed, ate my food, told me I owed him because he didn't snitch on me for something I didn't even do. Nate wiped his face. I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you what happened. Headlights swept through the windows. The van was back. Nate's face went white. They're back. My brother won't leave without me. He grabbed my arm. If he finds you here, he's not letting you walk out. The flashlight cut through the broken back doorway. The big one ducked in, and he looked even bigger in the dark, and his boots crunched on glass.
Bă, și gaborii, unde sunt gaborii?
Nu știu, frate, unde sunt, pe bune, unde sunt polițiștii?
Nate, let's go. Nate squeezed my arm. Stay down. He stood up. I'm here. The flashlight hit his face. Where's the kid? Gone. He ran. The big one grabbed Nate by the collar and shoved him toward the back door. Nate stumbled and planted his feet. Wait, we don't wait. I said wait. The big one swung the flashlight beam around the store and it landed on me, crouched behind the aisle, and I could feel it on my face like a heat lamp. He's still here? He shoved Nate aside and came down the aisle with the crowbar raised, and he was twice my size, and the fury on his face was volcanic. You locked my boy in. You let the woman go. You called the cops on us at that house. I raised the extinguisher. That's not going to stop me. I squeezed the handle and sprayed him point blank, and he screamed and staggered, clawing at his eyes, and crashed into the cooler doors and glass shattered. The second guy came through the back door. Nate stepped into the aisle between us. He spread his arms wide and planted his feet. Enough! The second guy stopped. Nate's brother was screaming and wiping his eyes. Get out of my way! No! Nate, I swear to God, move! This is my friend. His voice cracked. His mom drove me to school when mine wouldn't. She packed me lunch because nobody packed mine. I sat next to him every day for 2 years.
Și Nate ăsta la normal, mâncați-și gura ta.
He was crying and shaking and half the size of his brother, and he didn't move. I'm done. I did this because you told me to, and I watched a baby scream on a floor because of us, and I'm done. His brother lunged around him with the crowbar, and Nate grabbed his arm, and they crashed into the shelf, and cans rained down, and I swung the extinguisher and connected with the brother's back, and he dropped the crowbar and howled. The second guy bolted for the back door. Nate and his brother were on the ground, and Nate was holding his brother's arm with both hands, screaming, "Stop!" And I kicked the crowbar down the aisle and grabbed the front door key ring off the wall, and my bloody hands dropped it twice. And threw the door open, red and blue flooding the parking lot. 3 cruisers, officers pouring in. They rushed past me and pulled all 3 out in handcuffs.
La poliția, bro.
Rubbing his eyes and cursing. Nate came out last. He was bleeding from a cut above his eye.
His hands
were cuffed behind him, and he was 17 years old. His face found mine across the parking lot, and he held my eyes, and neither of us blinked. The kid who stood between his brother and me with his arms spread was being loaded into a cruiser, and I pressed both hands over my face. The security camera, battery backup, green-tinted footage of the whole night. The officer played it on his laptop. 3 men entering, me on the floor, Michelle holding Lily, me breaking free, the extinguisher, and at the end, Nate stepping between his brother and me with his arms wide. We have everything on camera, including that kid stepping in front of a crowbar for you. The paramedic wrapped my wrists in white gauze. These are deep. You'll have scars. Michelle's minivan pulled into the lot. She got out, and Lily was asleep in the car seat with Ellie tucked under her arm. Michelle crossed the parking lot and walked straight into me and held on shaking. You told me to run. You needed to run. She's okay. My baby's okay because of you. She brought Lily over and put her in my arms, and she weighed nothing and smelled. like baby shampoo, and her tiny hand curled around my finger, and I choked up because this little girl was safe and had no idea what happened tonight. My mom showed up in her bathrobe, police scanner in the kitchen. She grabbed my face and saw the bandages and the bruise and pulled me in so hard my ribs screamed. You're done working nights. Mom, you're done. I buried my face in her shoulder because I was and I fought 3 grown men twice and saved a woman from a house.
Bă, dar vezi că gen dau chep acum, băiatul ăsta chiar s-a luptat cu 3 bărbați, frate, ești de bun, adică chiar chiar a făcut pe interesantul
care trebuie să-l plătești ca să nu mai mergi la job.
Vezi că chiar a făcut pe interesantul ca lumea, da.
She described the kid who threw a gnome through the van window, and the dispatcher confirmed my 911 call. He ran toward the screaming, she told the officer. Everyone else would have run away. Nate wrote me from county, 1 page. I stepped in front of my brother because you swung a fire extinguisher for a baby you didn't even know. I want to be the kind of person who does that. I'm not there yet, but I'm trying. I screenshot it and almost posted it to my Snapchat story. And then put my phone down because some things
ce faci tu, bro? Întotdeauna, bro, trebuie să faci aia, să faci pe interesantul.
Bro, n-aș face eu așa
Lasă
ceva.
așa.
Bro, n-aș face eu așa ceva.
Nu puteam să lăsăm așa, nu trebuie să zic pe Snapchat, să mă dau șmecher, să vadă că...
Doamne, bro, nici măcar n-a pus, bro, nu a pus și nici eu nu puneam.
Twice, the register was replaced, but the dent in the counter from where his brother ripped the drawer out was still there. My first day shift, I found Ellie behind the shelf where she'd rolled during the fight. I picked her up and put her on the counter. Michelle came in a week later with Lily on her hip, and the little girl pointed and screamed, Ellie, and I handed it to her, and she held it against her face. Michelle grabbed She didn't need to say anything. I squeezed back. Lily was already toddling toward the candy aisle like nothing had ever happened in the...
Bro, chill, bade, nu mai râde.
Se micșorează pe ce
bă, sincer, destul de tare povestea, sincer. Adică...
Îmi dau seama că-ți pare tare.
Cum a făcut băiatul ăsta pe interesant acolo, a făcut pe erou, frate, bă, și până la urmă... Trebuie să-i dăm cezarului ce al cezarului, frate. Chiar a fost eroul serii, mâncați și jurata.
Eu, bro, Dani, am observat multe chestii care, să spunem așa, sunt în concordanță cu tine. Făcutul pe interesantul, trădarea între prieteni, jefuirea prietenilor, mințirea prietenilor și cam atât. Și făcutul de fapte rele, care știm că tu faci multe fapte rele.
Bro, nu fac nimic și, bro, să lăsăm puțin videoclipul ăsta la o parte, chiar a fost tare. Vreau să zic și o chestie, frate, care am văzut-o pe TikTok. Nu știu dacă ai văzut, bro, Marius, dar niște polițiști, frate, au amendat niște copii de 14 ani. Ai văzut treaba asta?
No.
Bro, niște polițiști din România au amendat niște copii de 14 ani, frate, pentru că nu aveau la bicicletă claxon, nu aveau lumini în timpul zilei la bicicletă, nu aveau chestii de alea pe spițe, frate, știi?
Clasic pentru
bro, le-au dat amendă de 12 milioane la fiecare copil de la tu. Ești nebun la cap, bro, Marius. Adică, bro, cum să faci treaba asta, frate? N-are niciun sens, efectiv. De ce să dai amendă la copiii ăia săracii? Adică vrei să-mi zici mie că polițiștii ăia, frate, când erau mici și se plimbau cu bicicleta, aveau claxon, aveau toate treburile astea, frate, și toți în comentarii că de ce nu i-ați verificat și de trusă, extintor și toate astea, știi? Gen ca la mașină. Adică, bro,
corect. Într-adevăr,
asta am vrut să
zic. Gaborii, dar sincer să fiu, Dani, dacă ție ți-ar fi dat amenda aia, m-aș fi bucurat.
What? Bro, am primit și eu o dată amendă, mâncați și gura ta, bro, Marius. Am primit o dată amendă, frate. Bă, deci prima dată când am făcut ceva ilegal, da? Când am condus.
Am primit... Nu faci ceva ilegal zilnic.
Nu fac. Și am primit amendă, mâncați și gura ta, că am mers cu 21 de kilometri peste limită, mâncați și gura ta, și am primit amendă.
Mamă, bro, asta e, bă, ai grijă.
Bro,
de ce ai mers? Nu puteai să stai liniștit, trebuia tu să te dai în spectacol.
Bro, am mers puțin mai rapid, bro, și măcar mi-am dat seama că am viteza aia, adică gen...
Bro, ca și cum tu ești un om important, tu trebuie să fii în locuri, trebuie să ajungi în locuri.
Ok, bro, în fine, bro, ăsta a fost videoclipul, o lăsăm așa, bro, Marius, las-o așa, bro, nici mai zic, bro, ție nimica de acum încolo, gata.
Chiar trebuie să o lăsăm așa, da.
Băi și fete, sperăm că v-a plăcut videoclipul. Dacă mai vreți episoade, frate, și vă place de doi, practic, de acest duo, dați like, frate, în forță acolo. Eu am fost Marius, eu am fost Dani și el a fost Marius. Ne vedem data viitoare. Pa, pa!